segment yesterday or the other day. It was a Thursday show, I think, something like that. We talked about we didn't actually talk about the Supreme Court knocking down not all, but some of Biden's mandates, or at least portions of it. I think the thing about the hospital workers that are receiving like Medicaid or Medicare funding or something, they get to. And it's the dangers of why, state subsidized or federal subsidized things is that everything comes with a price. You know what I mean? But apparently Biden is not, of course, happy about that. Now, that's not going to stop him from doing something here. Let's read this. Of course, covered by Paul Saka. Blaze says, despite the Supreme Court stopping the vaccine mandate for large businesses, dead in its tracks, disappointed Joe Biden is continuing to urge companies to institute vaccination requirements. So, of course, as you know, 6-3 vote, Supreme Court halted Biden's sweeping vaccine mandate that required businesses with 100 employees to require workers to get vaccinated against COVID-19 and supply COVID-19 tests weekly, which, of course, they were going to have to pay for. And he tried to use OSHA in order to make that happen. And this is what he says. He says, Biden said in a statement, I am disappointed the Supreme Court has chosen to block common sense life-saving requirement for employees at large businesses that were grounded squarely in both science and law. No, they weren't, had nothing to do with health or science. It was just a way for you to try to punish people that did not listen to you. And that was your way of doing it. It had nothing to fucking do with science, considering that the unvaccinated do not pose some sort of special threat to anybody, considering that the vaccinated are still able to get transmit, of course, COVID-19. You joker. This emergency standard allowed employees to require vaccinations, it didn't allow, it forced employees to require vaccinations, or permit workers that refused to be vaccinated. Basically, they forced them to be punished is what it essentially was. So as long as they were tested once a week, blah, blah, blah. A very modest burden, paying to get these fucking stupid fucking tests and having shit stuck up your nose. As a result of the court's decision, it is now up to the states and individual employers to determine whether to make their workplaces safe. Again, none of this is rooted in science. He's just saying do it because reasons, and whether their business will be safe. I'm tired of this term safe for consumers during this pandemic by requiring employees to take the simple and effective step of getting vaccinated. The court has ruled that my administration cannot use the authority granted to it by Congress to require this measure, but that does not stop me from using my voice as president to advocate for employers to do the right thing to protect Americans' health and economy. And this is the important part. He says, I call on the business leaders to immediately join those who have already stepped up, including 1/3 of Fortune 100 companies, and institute vaccination requirements to protect their workers, customers, and communities. Now, I know that a lot of you that use the term fascism, particularly people on the left, have no fucking idea what fascism actually is. To you, it's just maybe a guy that has R next to his name that is a politician of some sort doing something that you don't like. That's generally what you think fascism is. You have no fucking idea what fascism are, the history of fascism, what the concept actually is. But a guy by the name of Eric July, aka Young Group of 5'9", who you're looking at right now, has documented the history of fascism in multiple, very detailed ways. There's an old video of mine that you can go check out that got a lot of leftists bent out of shape, yet none of them disputed anything I said. They just copy and pasted what some professor said because they just Googled the Nazis weren't socialists. But I have a video titled, Yes, the Nazis Were Socialists, and we do go about the history of fascism. I also have a video where I went through the doctrine of fascism by Giovanni Gentile, as well as, of course, Mussolini, who, you're talking about these are basically the godfathers of fascism, and going through the rhetoric that is used. But long story short, fascism is basically everything within the state, nothing without. So this is why a lot of people call it, more accurately, corporatism. Okay. And what that means is that essentially the state of the businesses do the do the bidding of what the state wants them to do. This is a lot of what you saw in Italy. It's a lot of what you saw when Funny Mustache Man was in charge. They say, well, there was capitalist because they say, or there was private ownership. And what they completely seem to want to neglect is that the state, and like in Germany's case, set the rules for what requirements must be met for not only for you to be able to own something, but for you to be able to operate. So this is why the biggest difference between something more fascistic versus something more communistic in terms of state governments is communism is international socialism and fascism is more of a nationalistic form of socialism. And as documented in the history of fascism, you've heard me talk about this before, they look at that as specifically an anti-individualistic philosophy. That's the rhetoric that they used in the doctrine of fascism, where they claim that classical liberalism, which is most of what we advocate, was of a previous, more archaic model, and this future is more about the collective. And that's what fascism was, specifically the rhetoric collective and it being basically anti-individualist. That was the rhetoric that they used. But specifically, when you look at the merging of corporate and state, and this is why I talked about the fascistic idea, for example, when Bernie Sanders and including Trump as well were advocating that the government be used to hijack factories so they could produce whatever forms of equipment, no matter what the fact. Could have been a fucking factory that created cars, and they wanted to utilize it to create equipment, medical shit, and all this other shit. That's an example of fascism per se, or something that's a fascistic policy. Let's say that. And what we have right here now with Biden essentially wanting the businesses to be his enforcement wing of a policy that he advocates, and it's just coming right after the Supreme Court wouldn't uphold what it is that he wanted. He's using the businesses. He's explicitly telling the businesses, okay, we couldn't make it happen this way, so I need y'all to do it for me. That is fascism. Whether you want it to be or not is irrelevant. That's what that is. It's a fascistic concept. And your boy Biden, for those of you that support him, or you thought just simply the orange guy was the only fascist around or something, look no further than what's happening right now. You just agree with it in terms of what it is that they're enforcing and the policy it is that they're trying to put out there. That doesn't make you any less of an advocate of fascism, you chicken shit bitch. You just watched a clip from my podcast, For Canon's Sake. Catch us live at 12 p.m. throughout the week over at youtube.com/YoungRipper59 and follow us over at odyssey.com/@YoungRipper59. If you want to watch the entire video cast after the show is over, just be sure to become a member on the YouTube channel. Of course, the full audio portion of the podcast is available for free on all major digital platforms, or just visit forcanonsake.com.